Today's video is going to be about drywall and some of the demo basics and how you always wonder how they pull off the drywall and everything in big sheets and the demo goes really fast. I'm going to show you guys how they do it, and I'm also going to talk about how to install or remove and demo drywall in those big sheets, and I'm going to also show you guys how to install that back in place. So this is going to be a little bit of drywall basics from stud to stud. This isn't going to be about a tiny hole in the wall. It's going to be a later video. I have this hole covered here, which is a sump pump that comes up and drains out upstairs. I'm going to have some tools laid out in front of me. So this was hammered out previously. This is what we're going to be working on, and we're going to be putting in a new piece of drywall right there. That's a new piece of drywall. The tools that I have out in front of me is going to be a vacuum cleaner to, after I hammer out some of this stuff and cut this out, to suck up all the dust and stuff like that. I'm going to want to wear a mask. I'm not going to be wearing the mask for this video between it, so I can talk to you throughout it. Have some gloves, a little headlamp so I can see some fine details. I'm going to be removing this trim piece, and so the fine details is going to be something like I'm going to use this knife to cut out the caulking and pry this out. The next thing that I want to talk about is how I'm going to cut the drywall. Really, all you need to cut and install drywall is going to be a knife like this and a screwdriver to install it. So you don't need all this stuff down below me. This is kind of all extra stuff. You'll see why as I go along. I have a tape measure to measure the drywall lengths and the things that I need. Additionally, I could just lay the drywall down, along here, and then mark it off right where the edge of the drywall needs to be cut. So that's why I was saying that these are kind of irrelevant. These are things that kind of expedite cutting. When you cut drywall, you want to cut it with something like a knife. That's why nothing can replace a razor blade or knife. But when I'm cutting a lot of it, this will cut a 1/2 inch deep throughout everything. And then I don't need to waste a lot of energy scoring and cutting a lot of drywall with just the knife. And additionally, the kind of corners that you want to get into, you can use this, and that'll cut a 1/2 inch deep as well. Little buzzer is what I call them. It's a multi-tool. You can use a piece of drywall or something, but you can also use a straight edge, which will help make nice cuts on everything here. So what I've done before is I've measured this 2 feet and a 1/2 inch up, and I've gone and I've cut this with the saw here beforehand. Use the straight edge to mark all that stuff out, and then I have shims here or paint sticks that are going to go under the drywall when I install it, because you don't want the drywall to sit on the bottom of the ground here. And then I have my screws and 2 separate ways to attach my screws. And then I have a hammer to clean everything out. And some glasses. This is my belt that I'm going to load up all this stuff with. The screws are already loaded in there. These 2 tools are kind of what I talked about when you just really need a screwdriver. Since I'm going into, these are metal studs here, galvanized steel studs. When you do the screws and you want to screw them in, you want them to go a certain depth. And that depth is just below the drywall surface, because when you tape over, you don't want the screws to be proud of the surface, but you don't want to rip the drywall paper on the top. And so this drill here is kind of like a little depth screw gauge, and then this one here is just your normal impactor screwdriver drill. And so I'm going to be using the impact and screwdriver drill because of the galvanized steel. What happens with this one is it strips it out. So let's dive into this, and you'll kind of see the steps that I go through. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to want to remove this on the side here. So I'm going to put my belt on and I'm going to caulk at the same time. There's a piece of caulking that goes down the inside of the wall there, and I'm going to use the knife to cut out that piece of caulking so I can still kind of save this piece of, this is called door casing. So this door casing doesn't look too damaged, so we're actually going to save this one. We do that by just taking our knife and running it up here, all the way up and down. Once the caulking is cut, we can take our hammer and maybe a, I don't have it with me, but really have a little crowbar. We can pop this out. See how this pops up? We want to just pop it out a little bit at a time. And the reason why we're going to take this out is because the drywall goes behind this door casing. And then at the very top here, at the very top of the door casings, right here, there's nails that are going, that are shot in this direction. So when we pop up this last bit, we're going to pull it that direction. Alright, we didn't rip it, so we can still save this piece. Okay, so now we have this bottom piece down here. When we want to pull this off in one chunk, and like I was saying, it extends beyond here. So I've already cut this top piece here now. And so the next step that I want to do is cut this line here, this paper tape in the corner with my knife. If I'm not demoing this side, I would just cut across the top. And then I'm gonna go ahead and draw this out towards where I cut my, use my saw to cut that. So I'll do that real fast. This blade only goes in about a 1/2 inch. And so this is kind of perfect for this corner, for drywall, because drywall is only a 1/2 inch thick. And once I've cut that fully, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. And then I have that piece that's outside that I'm going to go ahead and mark up and cut. So now this is cut 2.5 inches up. I have that piece outside that's cut 2 feet. I can use my hammer, or I can just kind of pull this off in pieces. So if you know how it's attached, where there is screws along these pieces here, then you can kind of plan ahead. So I have it all taken off. The pieces that matter the most are going to be along the studs here.